Robyn Brown had one goal when she walked into that courtroom: leave without being touched. She had made it through everything this family threw at her: the jealousy, the anger, and the whispers of accusations that followed her name for 15 years like a shadow she couldn't shake. She sat in the second row with her notebook, her calm face, and her cream blouse, watching the case against Kody unfold and telling herself she was safe. She told herself that no one could prove what she knew. She told herself that the papers were gone, the deals were broken, and the only woman who could connect them all had chosen to stay quiet. The documents weren't what she thought they were. She was wrong about the deals, and she was completely wrong about the silence. Because Meri Brown, the first wife, the legal wife, and the woman that everyone, including Robyn, had underestimated for 20 years, had been sitting in the back of that gallery every day, looking, waiting, holding a picture of a document on her phone that was supposed to have been shredded. A paper with Robyn's name on it. Kody signed it. And a trust that would have quietly and legally taken Christine Brown's share of 150 acres of land in Arizona and given it to one family, while 3 other women raised children, paid bills, and trusted the process. That paper made everything different. But no one in that courtroom knew this yet, not even Dana Marsh's lawyers. It wouldn't come out until the last session, when a witness no one expected took the stand and said the words that changed the whole Brown family story from the beginning. The real secret was never the Coyote Pass property. It was only the door. And behind that door was something much bigger, older, and more planned than anything else. When the truth finally came to light in that courtroom, even the judge fell silent. Stay with me. I'm going to tell you the whole story in the next 40 minutes. All the papers. Every time someone betrays you. Every time someone chose to be quiet when they should have spoken. And the one time at the very end when talking changed everything. Put your name in the comments right now and tell me where you're watching from. You won't want to go through what's coming next by yourself. It starts out quietly, like most painful things do. It's a Tuesday morning in early spring when Christine Brown's lawyer, a calm woman named Dana Marsh, files the papers that will change everything. The paper is 43 pages long. It is called Brown vs. Brown, Petition for Asset Distribution and Child Support Enforcement, in clear legal language. But if you take out the legalese, what it really says is that Christine is done being invisible. She is done watching her hard work for this family go to waste. Her years of work go to waste, and her children's futures be left up to a man who, she says, stopped being her husband long before she packed her bags and moved to Utah. The courthouse in Clark County, Las Vegas, is not a fancy building. It doesn't look like a place where lives change. The walls are a light brown color. The carpet is a shade of institutional gray that seems to suck the color out of everything around it. The air smells like coffee, paper, and something metal, which is the smell of bureaucracy, of the end. But on this Tuesday morning, when Christine walks through the double doors in a soft blue blazer with her lawyer by her side, it feels electric. Because people have heard about it. And there are people here who have been waiting for this moment for a long time, even longer than Christine. Writers. Other people who support plural families. A few people who know her from TV hold up their phones as soon as they see her and start filming. Christine doesn't move. For most of her adult life, she has been on camera. She walks straight ahead. She keeps her chin up. She doesn't look for Kody. Kody is already in. He is sitting at the defendant's table with his lawyer, Gerald Forsyth, who is well-dressed and known for winning hard cases on technicalities. Kody is wearing a dark suit, which is unusual for a man who spent years on TV in open-collar shirts and layered necklaces, looking more like a rock star than a father of 18 kids. He looks stiff today, not comfortable. It seems like the suit belongs to a version of himself that he hasn't fully decided to become yet. His hands are on the table in front of him, but his fingers keep moving, changing positions, pressing flat, and curling slightly. This is the restless, involuntary movement of a man who can't quite find stillness. Robyn is sitting right behind him in the second row of the public gallery. She is wearing soft colors, like a cream blouse and dark slacks. She has her long hair pulled back. She has a small notebook in her hand, as if she plans to take notes, but it's not clear who asked her to come. Today, no one needed her here. But Robyn Brown has a way of getting in the middle of things, and people who are watching notice. They always see. Her ankles are crossed, her back is straight, and her eyes move slowly and methodically around the room, as if she were walking into a building and quietly mapping out every exit. The first thing that everyone in that room is thinking is probably the same thing that you are right now. How did this family get here? Let's go back. Not to the start of the courtroom, but to the start of the break. The Brown family's problems didn't come out of nowhere. It took years to make them. They were in every episode where Christine's practiced smile didn't hide her anger. They were in every confession, where Janelle spoke with a careful, measured patience that barely hid how tired she was. When Meri talked about her relationship with Kody, her laugh sounded hollow. And when Christine's eyes would go blank whenever the subject of family unity came up, it was clear that she was upset. The people who watched it saw it. They just didn't know how bad things had gotten behind closed doors. They didn't know that by 2019, the Brown family was more like 4 separate and increasingly isolated lives being run under one brand name. The cameras loved to follow them because they were always smiling and getting along. And it had gotten really bad. Christine's lawsuit is about the Coyote Pass property, which is 150 acres of land in Flagstaff, Arizona. Kody bought it in 2018 with the clear agreement, at least according to Christine, that each wife would get an equal share. Every family would build a house on the land. They would live together, but apart, next to each other, just like the plural family had always wanted. That was the idea. That was the deal. Kody had stood in the middle of that land with his arms wide open and talked about the past, about staying the same, about making something for their kids and their kids' kids. It sounded like he was telling the truth. What really happened was something else entirely. Not one house had been built by the time Christine left the family in November 2021. The land sat there, untouched and quiet, while payments kept coming in and promises faded away. Christine's lawyers got documents that show that Kody and Robyn were mostly in charge of making financial decisions about Coyote Pass. The other wives were only consulted after the fact, if at all. And most importantly, Christine says that she helped pay for the land with money from the family's joint funds, which included money she made from her cooking business and shared expenses she had been covering for years. She did this without any legal documents protecting her interest in the property. She took nothing with her, or almost nothing. Now she wants what she says is hers. Dana Marsh is in front of Judge Patricia Calloway, who has short silver hair and a steady, unreadable look on her face. She has seen enough messy human wreckage to not be moved by theatrics. Today, she will need that steadiness. In a calm, clear voice, Dana starts her opening statement. She talks about Christine Brown's time in the plural family, which lasted 18 years. She talks about the hard work of raising kids, running a household, starting a business, and contributing financially and emotionally to a shared household, all while getting less and less in return each year. She talks about the deal for Coyote Pass. She talks about the promises that were made verbally and then quickly forgotten. And then she says something that makes the gallery very quiet. She says that the Brown family's bad money choices hurt more than just Christine Brown. She says that as this case goes on, they will show proof of a pattern that was planned and recorded, not an accident or a misunderstanding. Gerald Forsyth doesn't move at his table. He writes something down on his legal pad. But for a split second, Kody's jaw tightens. His hand makes a loose fist. Robyn, who is behind him, stops writing. Forsyth gets up for his opening, looking confident and almost dismissive. He understands that the family is in an unusual situation. He says that Christine's claims are based on how she feels about things instead of legal documents, that verbal agreements don't count as contracts, and that she joined and left this family of her own free will. He says wishful thinking once, and the people in the gallery move around. Christine's face stays blank, but her lawyer quietly pushes a folder across the table toward her. There are emails in that folder, messages, phone calls that were recorded. For 2 years, she has been quietly building this case, and what she has gathered is going to make Kody Brown's whole legal team very, very nervous. Raymond Adler, a financial consultant, is the first witness. He is a precise man with wire-rimmed glasses who spent 3 months looking at the Brown family's financial records from 2014 to 2021. He speaks in the calm, methodical voice of someone who has had to give bad news before. He talks about a financial system that was very unfair. Robyn's family got about $23,000 more from shared family accounts than any other family, and this number went up a lot after 2018. Adler then adjusts his glasses and says, in a calm, final tone like someone reading from math instead of opinion, that 31% of the original purchase funds can be traced back to income streams with Christine Brown's name on them. 31% of 150 acres. That Christine doesn't have any legal claim to right now. The number is in that courtroom like smoke. Kody Brown looks at the wall. Robyn has completely stopped moving. Christine Brown sits at the plaintiff's table with her hands folded and her face calm. She lets herself take a small, private breath of something she has been waiting years to feel. She came here to find out the truth. And the truth is already here. Christine Brown's second day starts before the sun comes up. She is up at 4 a.m, sitting at the kitchen table of the small rental house where she has been staying since she flew back to Las Vegas for the trial. It's a simple space, like the simple homes she managed for most of her adult life, where she ran households on shared budgets and made sacrifices. She has a cup of herbal tea next to her that is getting cold, and she is reading emails on her laptop. Not for legal reasons. Dana's team takes care of that. She is reading the old ones, the ones from 2018 and 2019, when Coyote Pass was still a dream and the family still thought they were building something together, or at least acted like they did. Something that is real. Something that would last. She keeps going back to one email. Kody sent it. Sent on a Thursday night in September 2018 at 11:43 p.m. The subject line is just, land stuff. Kody writes in it, with the casual, unguarded honesty of a man who doesn't know he's writing something that will one day be read aloud in a court of law. I want all 4 of you to feel like this is your land too, not just mine. Especially you, Chris. Your cooking stuff is helping us more than you know, and I see that. The things you cook with. Your land as well. Christine shuts the laptop. Reading it doesn't make her feel happy. She feels something more complicated. A sadness that has settled into something quieter, but just as real over the past 2 years. This email isn't just proof, though. It's a record of the time Kody actually saw her. Before anything happened, it happened. Before the slow pull of gravity toward Robyn's world got so strong that everyone else was left in the outer atmosphere, circling farther and farther away from the center. Before the man who wrote, I see that, became the man who sat at the defendant's table and stared at the wall. She drinks the last of her cold tea, gets out of bed, and begins to get ready for the day that will change this case forever. What comes into that court at 9 a.m? Isn't just a woman fighting for land. She is a woman fighting for the right to tell her story honestly, and today she finally gets to do it. The courtroom fills up more quickly on the second day. Word has gotten out through social media, entertainment news sites, and the online communities that have been following the Brown family for more than 10 years and have strong, detailed opinions about everything they've seen. The gallery feels different today than it did yesterday. People are less cautious and more excited. People sit down with the focused attention of an audience that knows the first act is over and the real story is about to start. Christine goes to the stand at 9:17. Today she is wearing a warm burgundy top and her hair is down and soft around her face. She looks more like herself today than she did yesterday. Not as armored. More here. She must have made the choice last night, somewhere between that cold tea and 4 hours of sleep, to stop worrying about her presentation and just be herself. Dana told her that this would be the hardest day of the trial for her emotionally. Christine had nodded and said, "Good. Let it be, in a calm and quiet voice. Dana starts with the basics. Complete name, your part in the family, how long the relationship lasts, kids. Christine answers each question with a steady, direct tone that commands the room without demanding it. She is a natural authority because she raised a large family, ran a business, and dealt with a lot of complicated situations for almost 20 years without getting much recognition or credit. She doesn't act distressed. She doesn't ask for sympathy. She talks in a clear, calm voice like someone who has practiced the truth so much that it doesn't hurt her to say it out loud anymore. Then Dana goes in the direction of Coyote Pass. She tells Christine to tell her in her own words what they talked about that led to the purchase. Christine takes a deep breath, and she starts. She talks about a family meeting that took place at the big rented house in Flagstaff, which was the main place for people to get together. Kody had laid out the land proposal with the same excitement he always had for big ideas. He had shown pictures of the land. He had drawn a rough outline of where each family's house might be. He had talked about closeness, privacy, and roots. He'd used words like all of ours and building something that lasts. He made it sound like it had to happen, even wholly. Christine says she asked directly, and she is very clear that it was not a passive assumption, but a direct question. Would each wife's financial contribution be recognized in some legal way? She says Kody said yes, that he said the land was an investment for the whole family and that everyone in the family had a stake in it. She says she trusted him. Then her voice changes just a little bit, enough for everyone in the gallery to feel the weight of what is underneath it. She says, I believed a lot of what Kody told me. For a long time, that was enough. The gallery lets out a breath. Christine Brown tells the story of her 20-year marriage in just one sentence, and everyone in the room can feel every year of it. Forsyth's cross-examination is exact and unyielding. He quickly shows that Christine did not sign any legal papers saying she was interested in the property. He gets her to admit that the wives never wrote down the family's financial structure. He questions her memory of certain conversations, gently but firmly suggesting that memories change and fade over time, and that what seems like a promise can look very different years later when things change. Christine handles it with a calmness that is clearly not fake. She has earned it. She answers right away and without thinking. She doesn't get upset. She doesn't fall for Forsyth's questions when they sound a little rude. When he suggests that her claims are based on feelings rather than facts, she looks at him with a calmness that is almost scary and says, without raising her voice, I have the emails, Mr. Forsyth. I don't need to wish for things that are already in writing. There is a ripple in the gallery. Someone in the back actually laughs, a single sound that quickly stops, before they realize what they did. There is no response from Judge Calloway. But the corner of her mouth might, just might, do something that is hard to see. Forsyth turns. He starts asking about the family's overall financial situation, with questions that seem to be meant to establish normalcy, context, and the natural messiness of shared finances. But Dana is watching the way these questions are going like a hawk watches things move below, and her pen has stopped moving on her legal pad. Forsyth then asks Christine about Robyn. He asks Christine to describe how her relationship with Robyn Brown has changed over the years, if there were any fights, if she thought Robyn had too much power over Kody's money choices. He is trying to change Christine's testimony from a documented claim from a financial stakeholder to the complaint of a jealous wife. This is a strategic move. Christine stops. This break is important, because Christine Brown doesn't stop. She talks quickly and with conviction. But now, on the stand, Christine stops for exactly 3 seconds before looking back up. Robyn is sitting 20 feet away in the gallery with a closed notebook. 3 seconds in which she looks like she's thinking about something. Make a choice. She says slowly and clearly, My relationship with Robyn changed over time. We were close once, but then we weren't. Forsyth pushes. He wants details, things that happen, dates, words he can use to make Christine look like a woman who has been wronged instead of a woman who has been wronged. Christine, who picks each word with great care, says, "I believe that decisions were made in this family that helped one household a lot more than the others. I believe those decisions were made on purpose, and I believe the court will see that clearly when we show them the rest of our evidence." Forsyth tries to change the subject, but Christine has already answered, and the answer is already in the record, already here to stay. Christine has just pointed a finger directly at Robyn without saying it out loud. And Robyn, in the second row, has become completely still, as if she'd just heard the first move of a game she thought she was in charge of. The break in the morning comes. People rush into the hallway, their voices low and urgent. Dana pulls Christine close and talks quickly. It's about this afternoon, and it's something that their investigative team has just confirmed. Christine needs to know something before they go back in. Christine hears. Her face stays the same, but something changes behind her eyes. Robyn Brown came to the courthouse this morning with her own lawyer. Not Kody's, hers. A different lawyer has filed a different motion asking to be recognized as a third party in these proceedings, specifically about the Coyote Pass financial records. Robyn is not here to help Kody. Robyn is here to keep herself safe. And that one fact changes everything about this case. If Robyn is protecting herself, it means that there is something in those financial records that she doesn't want the court to see. And what Robyn is hiding in those records is much more than a property dispute. It's the thread that, when pulled, will tear apart everything this family has built. Before something that can't be changed happens in a courtroom, there is a certain kind of silence. It's not the quiet of nothingness. It's the sound of not breathing, of a room full of people who can feel the atmospheric pressure change, like animals do before a storm. The air gets thicker. People are more upright. The fluorescent light makes everything look clearer, sharpening the edges of the legal pads, the water glasses, and Kody Brown's stiff shoulders, as if the world is getting ready to see something it won't soon forget. At exactly 9:42 on the third morning of Brown vs. Brown, Janelle Brown is called to the stand in Courtroom 7 of the Clark County Courthouse. She doesn't look like a woman who is ready to fight. She looks like herself. Practical, calm, the kind of woman who carries a reusable water bottle and reads the financial news before anyone else in the house wakes up. She doesn't waste a single word. She takes the stand the same way she does everything else. Quietly. Without any drama. She sits down in the chair, puts her hands on the railing in front of her, and looks at Dana Marsh with a calm, patient look that says she's been waiting for this moment for a long time. Someone who got ready not out of fear, but because that's just who they are. Dana starts off easy. She asks Janelle about the time she spent with the Brown family, about her connection with Kody, about how she learned about the family's finances over time. Janelle answers each question with such precision that it almost disarms her. She remembers dates, amounts, and specific conversations in great detail. This is because Janelle Brown, unlike many people who find themselves in situations like this, kept records. Records that are careful, well-organized, and always the same. She will say later that it was not out of suspicion, but out of habit. From the deep, practical instinct of a woman who knew early on that in a family structure as unusual as theirs, clarity was the only real safety net. She has always kept track of things. As soon as Dana Marsh opens the first exhibit binder and slides it toward Janelle on the stand, everyone in the gallery who has been watching this family for years knows that this is the moment they came for. The exhibit is a set of spreadsheets that are neat, tidy, and color-coded, like someone who handled family finances like an accountant would handle a balance sheet. Janelle made them herself over the course of almost 6 years, from 2015 to 2021. She wrote down the Brown family's shared income and expenses column by column and month by month. The money each household made from the TV show. Withdrawals from a shared account. Donations to the Coyote Pass Fund. Family accounts charged for personal expenses. And next to all of it, like a quiet current running under the other numbers, was a column she called Fourth Household Disbursements. The fourth house is Robyn's. Dana asks Janelle to tell the court what she found. Janelle opens the binder for the exhibit. She doesn't seem scared. She doesn't seem mad. She looks like a woman who is getting ready to explain something she has already explained to herself many times in private, and is now finally allowed to say it out loud. She speaks in the calm, precise way that someone does when they read from something they wrote themselves. What she talks about is a long-term, systematic financial imbalance. From 2016 to 2021, Robyn's family received about $23,000 more in payments from shared family accounts than any other family in the family. This includes cash withdrawals that weren't recorded, insurance costs that were listed as family costs but only applied to Robyn's kids, and payments that were made in the family accounts under the name Family Legal Expenses that Janelle has traced by carefully comparing dates and amounts to a private lawyer hired by Robyn, starting in 2017. 2 years before the Coyote Pass sale. The same lawyer is in this courtroom right now. The look on Lawrence Webb's face doesn't change. He is very good at keeping his face the same. But the pen he is holding moves a little between his fingers, which is a small, involuntary change that his face won't show. Kody Brown looks straight ahead. Not to Janelle, not at his lawyer. When a person looks at something real, they would have to pay more than they have left to spend to look at it. $23,000. Moved through a family budget that everyone shared for 6 years, and only one wife was keeping track. Did you ever talk to Kody Brown about these problems? Dana asks Janelle directly. Janelle agrees. 2 times. In 2018 and again in 2020. She talks about both conversations in the same clear, methodical way that she has done all day. Kody told her in 2018 that her analysis was wrong and that she was looking for problems that aren't there. In 2020, after the numbers had grown a lot, she brought it up again. This time, Kody told her that the payments were being managed properly and that she should trust the process. Dana wants to know what trust the process means to her. Janelle is quiet for a whole second. Then she says, I thought it meant that decisions were being made without me, and that I was being asked to accept that without any explanation. She says it without getting mad, without the shaking edge of someone who is hurt. She says it like you would state a fact about the weather. Matter of fact, observed, and simply true. But the courtroom takes it like a punch. Everyone in that room, everyone who saw this family go through years of on-camera struggle and off-camera silence, who saw Janelle's presence slowly fade from the family's emotional story, who saw her become the practical one, the sensible one, the one the show turned to for logistics instead of feelings. Every one of those people just heard the answer to all of it confirmed in a court of law, under oath. Kody Brown, who has been married to the woman he calls his wife for more than 20 years, can't look her in the eye. Not even once. Not even for a second. And that right there tells the whole story. Forsyth's cross-examination is tough. He questions Janelle's methods with the focused energy of someone who knows the damage has been done, but is determined to keep it from getting worse. He doubts the accuracy of her spreadsheets, says that financial changes in a shared home are normal and don't mean anything, and pushes her hard on whether she talked to Christine about her paperwork before the trial started. Janelle answers every question the same way she has answered everything else today. Calmly, precisely, and with a firmness that is not defensive but simply factual. She says she made her own records. She says she didn't tell Christine about them before the case was filed. When Forsyth brings up the issue of coordination for the 3rd time and says that it looks at least suspicious that 2 ex-wives are building parallel cases, Janelle looks at him steadily and says, I have receipts for everything, Mr. Forsyth. I'm happy to show you each one. The answer gets a sound from the gallery that Judge Calloway has to quiet with a look. It's not laughter, but the sound of everyone in the room letting out a breath after seeing someone land something clean and undeniable. Forsyth goes on. What Janelle Brown doesn't say in that courtroom is more powerful than what she does say. The numbers speak for her. Numbers for 6 years. And numbers don't get less sharp over time like memories do. In the afternoon, something happens that no one in that room was ready for. Lawrence Webb, Robyn's lawyer, formally asks to cross-examine Janelle Brown as a third-party interested respondent. This is an unusual procedural move. Bold, almost aggressive. And Dana Marsh immediately objects, saying that Webb has no right to question a witness in a case where his client is not a named party. Judge Calloway lets it happen anyway, with some restrictions. She tells Webb to only look at the financial records that are already in evidence and not anything else. Webb agrees and walks over to the stand. He talks to Janelle about the time between 2017 and 2019. He talks about a series of family meetings that he calls expanded household support agreements. Janelle says that the meetings did happen. He wants to know if Janelle was given any papers about those agreements. She says she was. He wants to know if she signed. She answers carefully and on purpose. I was given papers. I didn't sign them. I asked for time to go over them with my own lawyer, but before that could happen, the papers were taken back. Webb wants to know why they were taken away. Janelle looks at him with the same steady, calm look she has had all day. And she says, "You'd have to ask your client." The gallery moves. Judge Calloway brings things back to normal. Webb doesn't ask another question. He just folds his notepad, says, "No more questions," and walks back to his seat like a man who is sad but can't show it. Robyn Brown watches Janelle step down from the stand in the gallery. For the first time in 3 days, the calmness she has worked so hard to keep up starts to show signs of breaking. Not very much. Not crying. Just the small, almost unnoticeable tightening around her eyes that happens to someone who has just realized that the story they thought they were in charge of is now completely out of their hands. Dana Marsh's team has been looking for the documents Webb just mentioned. The ones that were withdrawn, the ones that were never signed, and the ones that no longer exist, through the discovery process for 3 full months. And they still haven't found them. Because they were ruined. Or at least they were supposed to be. Janelle just told this courtroom in clear and careful language that those papers were real, they were important, and someone made them go away. And Dana Marsh is already working on the motion that will go looking for them. You think you know how someone will break. You think you can tell when a person is going to fall apart when you see them hold themselves together in court for 3 days, controlling their voice and face, and sitting perfectly still while their whole world is being taken apart piece by piece. You think it will be loud, opera-like. A crack in the voice, a lip that shakes, or even tears falling in front of a room full of people who have been judging you from a distance for years. But Robyn Brown doesn't break like that. Robyn Brown breaks down quietly and suddenly, in a way that is somehow more disturbing than a breakdown. She breaks like a load-bearing wall does, out of the blue, in the middle of something that seemed completely stable. When she goes, the whole structure shifts in ways that no one saw coming and that no one can measure right away. On the 4th day, it happens. She has been ordered to appear in court, not officially charged, not named as a suspect in anything. But she was called to testify as a relevant third party about the financial documents Janelle mentioned from the stand, the agreements that were withdrawn before they could be signed, and the payments from shared family accounts that now have her attorney's name on them through an evidentiary chain that goes back to 2017. You have to respond to the subpoena, not a request. The court is telling Robyn Brown that her careful placement in the 2nd row of the gallery, where she watched everything with her notebook and calm face, is over. She and Lawrence Webb get there at 8:45. Today, she is dressed differently. She is wearing a structured blazer over a dark blouse, which is darker than what she usually wears. Her hair is down, but not too much. It's pulled back a little. She doesn't have her notebook with her. This morning, the way she moves through the building is noticeably different. The ease that characterized her earlier entrances is gone, replaced by something measured and effortful, the careful walk of someone managing the gap between how they feel and how they need to appear. Christine and Janelle are on the plaintiff's side, and Lawrence Webb and Kody Brown are on the witness stand. About 60 people in the public gallery are watching from all over the room. As soon as Robyn Brown sits down in that witness chair, the courtroom gets hotter. And everyone can feel it. The change from being a spectator to being a subject, from being an observer to being observed. As always, Dana Marsh starts the exam with a wide, calm look. She wants to know what Robyn's place is in the Brown family, her knowledge of how the shared finances work, the way she relates to the family accounts and the household budget. Robyn responds in the same careful, emotionally controlled way she always does. She thinks carefully about what she says and chooses words that make her seem open while actually saying very little. She has honed this skill over years of doing interviews on camera, and she uses it here with the ease of someone who has done it many times before. Dana watches this with the calmness of a chess player who has already seen 12 moves ahead and is just waiting for the board to get to the spot she set up for it. She wants to know how much the family's legal bills are. The payments that were coded as general fees in shared family accounts were tracked by Janelle's spreadsheets, which showed the date and amount of each payment going to Lawrence Webb's firm starting in 2017. Robyn's answer is technically careful. She talked to a lawyer about family matters during that time, and Kody knew and agreed to those talks. Dana wants to know if the other wives knew about them. A break. Short, controlled, but there and visible to everyone who is watching. I thought Kody talked to his wives about important family matters, Robyn says. Dana leans forward by an inch. It's not easy to see, but the gallery sees it. That's not what I asked, Mrs. Brown. Did Christine Brown, Janelle Brown, and Meri Brown know that shared family money was being used to hire a lawyer just for you? One more pause. Longer than the first time. Robyn says, I can't say what Kody told them. It is the most technically correct answer that doesn't answer. Each word can be defended on its own, but together they are not. And it comes into that courtroom with the exact weight Dana wanted it to have. Not as a denial, not as a confirmation, but as an absence where an answer should be. Absences in courtrooms are loud. She didn't agree. She didn't say no. In a court of law, what you don't say is its own testimony. Dana moves on to the agreements that were canceled. The expanded household support agreements are the papers that Janelle refused to sign, the ones that were later destroyed, and the ones that Dana's team has been looking for in discovery for 3 months. Dana wants Robyn to tell her about them. Things Webb doesn't like. Privilege. Dana is ready. She says that privilege doesn't apply to financial documents that are directly related to shared third-party accounts that have already been entered into evidence. Judge Calloway agrees with you. Not allowed. Robyn looks at Webb. He gives the smallest sign of agreement. She then turns back to Dana and says that the agreements were an attempt to bring clarity to the family's financial structure. Dana wants to know who wrote them. Lawrence Webb is what Robyn says. Dana wants to know who asked for them to be drafted. The silence that follows is different from any other pause in these proceedings. It is longer now, more full. The kind of silence that has weight and texture. Years from now, the people in that gallery will remember not what was said inside it, but how it felt to sit inside it and wait. Then Robyn says, I did. Dana shakes her head, opens a file, gives a picture to the court clerk, who then gives it to the judge. People in the gallery can see that it is just one page with a second document attached. The second document is a certificate of destruction from a shredding company dated October 2020. Mrs. Brown, do you know about the order to destroy documents that was made in October 2020, which is exactly when Christine Brown first hired a divorce lawyer? Dana asks. Robyn looks at the picture on the judge's desk. Something moves through her eyes very quickly, very small, and very carefully. She says, I need to read that document carefully before I say anything. But Dana Marsh doesn't need her to say anything, because the destruction certificate is already there. And the fact that it happened the same week Christine quietly called a lawyer for the first time is not a coincidence. It's a pattern. The court can now see the whole pattern. What follows is 90 minutes of the most controlled and quietly devastating examination this courtroom has ever seen. Donna goes through the financial timeline year by year, transaction by transaction, with the calm, methodical patience of someone who has been getting ready for this hour for months. She wants to know about certain withdrawals, meetings, and times when decisions were made that affected every household but only one. Robyn Brown answers every question she asks with a precise, careful, and professionally managed answer that does not address the pattern that the evidence has already established around her like a finished frame. Because you can explain each transaction. You can put individual choices in context. But a 6-year pattern of money habits, shown in spreadsheets, bank records, and a destruction certificate dated the same week a divorce lawyer got the first phone call, can't be explained away one piece at a time. You can see the pattern. It has been shown to be true. And Robyn Brown, no matter how calm she is, can't make it stop being true. At one point, Dana asks her directly, "Did you love your sister wives?" Forsyth objects because it is relevant. Not allowed. Robyn looks at Dana with what looks like real, unperformed emotion, and says, "I loved them. I still love them." Did that love mean making decisions about shared resources without their knowledge? Webb says no. Argumentative. Lasting. But the record has the question. Permanent, and can't be taken back. Christine Brown's jaw tightens once, quickly, and then she goes back to being still. There are 6 years' worth of spreadsheets, a destruction certificate, and $230,000 that went through a shared family budget, while 3 women raised kids, ran their homes, and trusted the process. Love was not the main idea. After that, Kody speaks. He walks up with the ease of someone who has been the center of attention in every room he has been in for years. He wore a dark suit and had a controlled expression, which is what he always does when cameras, or in this case, a courtroom, are watching. He gets comfortable. He fixes his jacket, looks around the room. Dana starts out of the blue, but not with money. She starts with feelings. She wants him to tell her about his relationships with each of his wives. Kody, who is used to this kind of terrain, starts to talk in the broad, philosophical way he always does. Love, commitment, and trying his best, even when things are hard. He talks for almost 4 minutes. He lets Dana. Then she tells him to stop. She points him to a group of text messages from 2019 and 2020 that are already in evidence. In these messages, Christine repeatedly and specifically asks about her position in the Coyote Pass property. In message after message, Kody puts off, dodges, and reassures without ever clearly saying that she has no claim. She wants to know why he never just told Christine the truth. Kody says, "I didn't want to hurt her." Dana asks, "Was it more important to be honest with her than to protect her feelings?" The prepared composure starts to show its first real, visible crack. "That's not because Mrs. Brown thought she had a financial stake in that property for 2 years," Dana says, steady and relentless. "Based on your texts, based on your emails, based on conversations that more than one person saw. Did you ever tell her in writing that she was wrong?" No sound. Kody says, "No," in a quiet way, almost a whisper. "I didn't." And in that silence, that one small, terrible word from Kody Brown spoken under oath, 17 years of Christine's life in that family comes crashing down into one horrible, eye-opening moment of truth. Meri Brown then walks up to Dana Marsh in the hallway during the afternoon break. She says 3 things. "I want to talk." And everything is different. What Meri has been sitting on for 4 days of testimony, quietly and patiently, is the piece that makes the whole picture clear. And once she does that, nothing in this case will ever look the same again. Meri Brown almost doesn't show up. At 7:48 that morning, Dana Marsh gets a text from a number she doesn't know. The message was sent through a privacy app, which is what people use when they want to say something but don't want to be fully traceable while doing so. The message says, "I'm having second thoughts. I need 10 minutes." Dana doesn't freak out. She has worked on enough cases with witnesses who didn't want to testify to know that having second thoughts the morning of the testimony is not the same as saying no. They are the last gasp of self-protection before someone crosses a line they have been getting closer to for a long time. She types back, "Take your time. I'll be at the courthouse cafe." She stops using her phone. She picks up her coffee and waits. Meri Brown walks into that cafe at 8:19 wearing a plain gray coat and flat shoes. She looks like someone who has made a decision but is still feeling the weight of it. No makeup for TV, no carefully chosen outfit. Just herself. The version of herself that is there when the cameras have been off long enough for the performance layer to completely go away. She sits down across from Dana, wraps both hands around a paper cup of tea, and stares at the table between them for a long time without saying anything. Then she says, "There's no going back if I do this." Dana says, "There's no going back now. The only thing left to do is read the record." Meri is not talking. The cafe moves around them. A barista takes an order. Someone's phone buzzes against a table, and morning light comes through the window and falls across the floor at a low angle. People who know today is not a normal day are slowly and carefully arriving at the courthouse parking lot outside through the glass. Meri looks up, and she says, "Okay." The most important testimony in this case almost didn't happen. The story ends the way it does because Meri Brown chose to walk back through those courthouse doors and tell the truth at the last possible moment. There are more people in the gallery on day 5 than there have been on any other morning. The people who got seats early, some before 8 o'clock, didn't want to risk losing their spot on what everyone following this case knows is the most important day. The energy in the room is different from other sessions. It's less chaotic and more focused. How a storm feels different at the end than at the beginning. Everything is quieter, heavier, and more certain. Meri is called to the stand by Dana. She handles it in a different way than Christine or Janelle did. At a slower pace, more carefully. Every step is the weight of a person who is choosing to keep going even though every instinct tells her she could stop, turn around, or protect herself from what comes next. She takes a seat. She looks out at the court. She takes a breath, which can be seen and measured, and then she folds her hands and looks at Dana Marsh. At that point, she is just a witness. Just a person with something real to say. As always, Dana starts with the base. Meri's place in the Brown family legally. Her job as Kody's only legally recognized wife. The practical effects of that status include mortgage applications, insurance papers, bank accounts, and any other legal or financial document that needs a spouse's signature. Meri makes each point clear and specific for the record. Her voice is steady. Her answers are clear. Then Dana asks the question that everyone has been waiting for, but no one knew it until now. She asks Meri if she was involved in the paperwork for the purchase of the Coyote Pass property as the legal wife. Meri says, "Yes." And with that one word, the basis of Kody's legal defense, which was mostly based on the idea that the other wives had no claim to the property, starts to fall apart. This is because Dana's next question isn't about the purchase itself. It's about what happened next. Specifically, about a meeting that Kody, Meri, and Lawrence Webb went to in early 2020. Meri says she was given a document at that meeting that asked her, as the legal wife, to voluntarily give up her primary standing in any future sale of the Coyote Pass property. Not all 4 households are equally in favor. Not in favor of the family as a whole. In favor of Robyn specifically, through a private trust arrangement that would make sure Robyn's household got back its money before any other claim could be processed or considered in the event of a future sale or development of the land. The gallery is quiet. Not a sound. Not a change of seats. Nothing. Dana wants to know if Meri signed. "No," Meri says. "I refused." Dana wants to know what happened when she said no. And here, for the first time, Something moves through Meri Brown's voice that wasn't there before. It's not tears or anger, but a heaviness that comes from words that have been inside for a long time and are finally being let out. She says, "Kody told me I was being difficult. He said it was what was best for the family. He said..." And she stops for a moment, just long enough for the room to feel the weight of the next sentence. "He said that if I really loved this family, I would do this." The quiet is huge. Meri's voice steadies as she reaches the heart of what she came to say. "And I told him that loving a family doesn't mean erasing yourself from it." For 4 years, she has been carrying that moment. You can see in her face at the same time exactly what it costs her and what it gives her back when she says it out loud, on the record, in front of a judge and a room full of witnesses. People in the gallery are crying. People who didn't expect to cry when they came here, who have watched this woman on TV for 10 years and thought they knew her, are only now realizing how much was going on behind the scenes. Judge Calloway asks for order in a calm way and gets it. She gives Meri a second. Meri uses it to look at her hands, then back, then forward. Dana wants to know more about the document. If Meri kept a copy. Meri agrees. She says she took a picture of it on her phone that night while standing in the parking lot of the restaurant where the meeting took place, in the dark, because she felt like she should. Because years of living in the carefully controlled world of the Brown family had slowly and painfully taught her that the only thing that couldn't be taken away was documentation. She wasn't sure if she would ever need it. She knew she should have it when she stood in that parking lot with her phone raised and her hands not quite steady. In her cloud backup, she kept it in a locked folder. She didn't tell anyone. She carried it quietly, like she had learned to carry most things, by herself, in private, without asking anyone else to help her. She hadn't talked to Dana Marsh in 2 days. Dana's team has been looking for this one photo of a document that was supposed to have been shredded in October 2020 for 3 months. They have made discovery requests, procedural motions, and hit dead ends. It was never gone. It was just being held by the one person no one thought to ask. The paper that was supposed to go away is about to be used as evidence. And it will show, in Kody's own handwriting and Lawrence Webb's own letterhead, that what happened to the Coyote Pass property was not a mistake. There was a plan. It takes time to verify your identity. Both teams of lawyers look at the picture. Webb and Forsyth talk in urgent, barely audible tones near the back wall. Kody sits with his hands flat on the defendant's table and his eyes fixed forward, looking like a man who has run out of ways to look at things. Robyn isn't in the gallery today. She left with Webb during the morning break and didn't come back. No one officially says anything about this, but everyone sees it. And in this courtroom, where presence and absence have meant something from the very first day, her empty seat says everything. Her calm face spent 4 days carefully not saying. Judge Calloway looks over the document when it is officially entered into evidence. Her expression changes in a way that is subtle, professional, and noticeable to anyone who is paying close attention. A small readjustment. The expression on someone's face when they have just quietly and significantly changed their mind about something. Dana goes back to the stand and asks Meri one last question. She wants to know why she spoke up now. After all of it. After all the years of managing her public role in this family, all the episodes and appearances, and carefully maintaining her part in a story that was never fully hers. Meri Brown turns to Dana. Then, for the first time since she took the stand, she looks right at Christine. She says, "I had to tell the truth because someone I love needed to hear it. I was the only one who could do it." She doesn't look at Kody. She doesn't look at the empty seat next to Robyn. She looks at Christine Brown, who is also looking at her. And something passes between them across the floor of the courtroom. It doesn't need words and can't be made better by them. To the people watching, it looks a lot like the hard-won peace between two people who were hurt by the same thing and finally did something about it together. At 12:47, Meri leaves the stand. And the case that started as a fight over property has become the truth, forever and completely. The last sessions will answer what Judge Calloway does with that truth and how much it costs everyone in that room. And the last twist in this story is one that no one, not even Dana Marsh, saw coming.